Hello. Hello. Abhishek, I'm audible.
Yeah. Some of the attendees have joined. Welcome everyone. We'll start at 3 p.m. So thanks for joining early. So yeah, Abhijit, you are audible. That's right. Hey, hi, Manchu. Good to see you, Ali.
Hi, Abhishek. Actually, Abhijit forwarded me the invite, so I thought that you might want to do a pre-checks. So I
Yeah,
joined you.
I think people have started to join in. So I'm aware that Abhijit spoke to you. So Abhijit will kick off at 3, maybe 5 minutes from now when Sumant as well as Deepthi joins in.
Cool, no problem.
Okay.
Hi, Deepti.
Hello.
Abhishek, you're on mute.
Sorry. Hi, Deepthi. Good afternoon. Good to see you.
Afternoon, all good.
We're just waiting for Suman to join in.
Sure.
And people are kind of joining in, so as we speak.
Great.
Hi, Mr. Sumant. How are you?
Hi, Suman. Good afternoon.
Hi. How are you guys?
Good, good.
Yeah.
So we are waiting for people to joining in. So people as well as their fireflies and otters are joining in as we speak. So so AI is anyways kind of a part of our life now with the otters and fireflies. So
Video is right now off, right?
you could switch on your video, Sumant.
Okay. Join as a panelist. Oh, fair enough. Yeah. Then just allow me a minute. We have 2 minutes, right? I'll just turn on the video. Finishing
Sure.
up, having a coffee. So yeah.
So guys, we'll wait for maybe few more minutes. People are joining in and then probably start in 3 to 5 minutes. Okay.
Well, let's
Sure.
start with 3-5, Abhishek.
Cool. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's Indian Standard Time, right? We are at 3-5. So cool. So Sumant, you are joining from Bangalore or Delhi or
I am right now in Hyderabad.
okay. Deepti is in Pune. Himanshu, where are you like based out of right now? Himanshu, you're on mute.
Yeah, can you hear me, Abhishek?
Yeah. I was asking where are you based out of which part?
I'm currently based out of Pune.
Oh, you are based out of Pune. That's good to know.
A lot of people from Pune. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Abhishek, is my audio fine now? Or is that
Yeah. Loud and clear.
all right? Cool.
Abhishek, I think we have a good number of attendees. We can start now. If you want, we can wait for another 5 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes max.
Yeah, a couple of minutes more, and then we could start. So people, who have joined in, welcome. Good afternoon. My name is Abhi. I'm the co-founder of Extra Edge. We are waiting for a couple of more minutes for people to come in. It's just after lunch, so people are kind of joining in, and we'll wait for a couple of more minutes before we start. I think Abhijit, we are good.
Yeah,
We have around 70 odd people. I think more will join in. I think we have more than 100 registrations. So people will keep on joining in.
yes.
So yeah, over to you.
Yeah,
Just
so
share.
so first of all, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I am Abhijit here, and me and my speakers we are thrilled to have you guys with us to explore today's topic, how AI is takeover in admission and unlocking the power of AI in admission marketing. So whether you are an education leader, a marketing professional, or simply curious about AI growing role in education industry, this session is packed with the valuable insight and a practical takeaways that you can start implementing right away. I can see few of you are already started raising your hands. So before we dive in, let's go over a few housekeeping rules to ensure a smooth experience. So we'll encourage you to ask question. To ask question, you can use in chat. You can drop us a message and we'll address your questions over and there. And we will also address your deep questions in our Q&A sessions. To avoid background noises, all of our attendees are currently in mute. You cannot speak, but you can always ask your question in chat. And the webinar is being recorded, and we will share the replays with all the registrars afterwards. Before we begin, let me introduce my panelists. First, we have Mr. Abhishek Balla, co-founder of Extra Edge. Then we have Mr. Sumant, CEO of Funnel Story. We have Ms. Deepti here, founder of Investonaut, and Mr. Himanshu Tyagi, manager at NextGen Analytics. Over to you, Abhishek. Walk us through how AI is transforming education industry and what we can expect from today's session. Abhishek, stage is yours now.
Thank you, Abhijit. First of all, let me start by thanking all of you who have joined in, the speakers as well as people who have tuned in immediately after lunch. Let me also start by saying that nobody really knows what's happening in AI. At the end of the day, everybody is taking their best stab because things are evolving literally on a daily basis as we speak, right? So with that being said, my name is Abhishek, and people call me Abhi in the company, and outside, I'm the co-founder of Extra Edge, and have been building this company for the past 6 years. And I will not talk about much about myself, and probably hand over the stage to the audience. But for all of you, the core idea behind this session was, how can we go to our stakeholders who are primarily head of admissions, head of marketing, our counselors, our admission executives, and how can we educate them about what's happening in this particular area and the impact in the education marketing industry. B, how they could practically use some of the tools as well as processes that are changing. And for that, we have esteemed speakers who will share that insights, and all of them have been owning P&Ls in their in their own company and prior in bigger universities. And third is that we will end up showcasing you and showing you some of the things, so that you could realize that how it looks while it's getting played out. So quickly on the agenda, so we'll start with speaker introduction. And before I'll get down with our esteemed speakers, I thought of doing a bit of one-on-one DK Sumant and Himanshu. It's such a complicated topic that explaining it like a 5-year-old kid is very, very important, we thought. So just trying to say that hey, this is LLM, this is GPT, this is data training. So it looks a bit complex. Probably Himanshu will relate because he has ML and machine learning and AI background, but not many people relate to it. So I will do that for 3 minutes, and then we'll go through impact in admissions marketing, how leaders are doing about it, how to boost the engine, and a quick demo, and followed by Q&A session. So with that, I will quickly hand over the stage to all the speakers to do a very quick introduction of themselves. So maybe we start with Sumant. Sumant, over to you.
Thanks, Abhishek. Thanks, Abhijit. Hello, all. Thank you for joining onto this session and having me to share my own experiences and whatever knowledge I was able to gain over the last few years. So I am Sumant. A part of the profile is listed out here, so I will not repeat what is there. But I think what's interesting of the learning I have gone through, I think my first job out of IIM was launching IPL in India. So I was a part of set launching Indian Premier League, which is today one of the largest property. Manoranjan Ka Baap was the first campaign we have launched, reporting into Lalit Modi. I mean, don't ask me where he is right now. So I think that's a very pertinent question. A lot of people keep asking. But yeah, working with the likes of Dhoni's, Tendulkar, Kohli's, and all the big names of today's generation of cricketers were upcoming aspirant cricketers at that point of time. I think the reason why I've touched upon Sony and IPL experience, because that's a very traditional medium of marketing we used to do in 2007. Very traditional. It was outdoor hoardings to a newspaper to television advertisements. From there, I think my journey has evolved, especially in the marketing space, across technologies, the entire onset of digital marketing, the performance marketing, admissions, insights, all of these new terminologies. Every second year, I see that marketing is changing its face. And I think on relevance of marketers like me, it's very, very important to stay relevant. I think today's technology, the way it's changing. So that's a wonderful experience, a journey over the last many years. And specifically, my focus area has been in education. For last 15 years or plus, I've been in education, been a startup creator, exited the company, worked with NSDCs, worked in test prep, worked with 200 plus colleges and universities across the country, been a part of a massive international group like GUS Global University Systems, which activates, which is a partner for UPS, for Pearl Academy, seen the transformation of universities like UPS from a petroleum energies to a University of Tomorrow, to London School of Business and Finance in London, to University of Law in Middle East. So there's a huge range of education ecosystem. As a marketer, as a business owner, as a business head, I've been a part of. And currently, I am building my own company, The Funnel Story, which is partnering with many more universities especially which are very growth hungry, as their strategic growth partner, supporting the universities on what all can they do ensure that and eventually they are growing as a brand, enhancing value for the students. Eventually, the bottom line, the revenue matters. So the entire growth part is what I'm partnering with various universities in India and in abroad as a part of Funnel Story. Yeah, that's a brief about me.
Thank you, Sumant. Sumant is somebody that I have known, I have sold to, I have worked with, and I think one of the really amazing things about him is that he also has a 30,000 view, but he also understands what's happening at the ground level. So I think that's a very unique thing because people lose touch from the ground level when they become leaders. So welcome, Sumant. Now, glad to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Deepti, over to you.
Hello everyone. Good afternoon to all. Thank you, Abhishek and Abhijit, for having me over as a part of this interesting discussion. Hi to you, Sumant. That was very, very impressive journey that you've had. Would love to meet you in person. To all, hi, I'm Dipti Vaidya, founder of Investronaut. I would like to sort of introduce you Investronaut in one sentence where creativity meets performance. It's been a journey with Investronaut over the last 8 years. I wouldn't say it is limited to education. We've looked at various verticals from manufacturing to food industry, not limited to geographies. So it's not just India, but we've worked in Dubai and Norway and the UK. The whole approach we have looked at is from inception to impact and back, which is you bring in the idea. What is it that you want to do in the market? Why is it that you want to get into the marketing field? And what is the kind of objective you have? Do the whole 9 yards, which is, from planning of the campaigns to executing the campaigns, understanding what has worked, why it has worked, what needs to be done, what needs to be tweaked, and back. So we too look at being growth partners with the clients that we have worked at and working with, whether it is Mumbai Metro or Yamaha Music or Food Fay, Lunch Padora. These are some of the very close clients that we have worked with. And what really excites us is working and thriving on all the challenges that are thrown to us, which are not just limited to performance marketing and being creative, but it's all about the data that I really love to work with. What has worked and how can we do it better? What has not worked and how can we bridge the gap? That has been my high for the last 15 years. And looking forward to having interesting discussion on AI because that's the buzzword. Deciphering that with each one of you present here would be a journey in itself, I would say. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepti. Thank you very much. And so, we work with you with, definitely with you, Vishwakarma University in close quarters. So that's how we have known you. And it's great to have, an entrepreneur running a, kind of, I would say, digital transformation and company. So it will be great to have your views as we progress in the webinar. So moving on to Himanshu, you are the last. Please go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Abhishek and Abhijit, for having me here. My experience in front of Deepti and Sumant would be very little. And I'm really impressed by my position today that I'm able to speak in such a such a place where such a large experience and such great personalities are there to speak with me. And I'm looking forward to have a very what should I say a fruitful conversation with all of you so that we can help others and try to help even ourselves in growing further. So I have somewhere around 9 years of experience working in the tech industry. So I've been a core tech guy. I started my career in 2015, very mediocre company I started off with. Learned a few things there, but gradually I understood that I need to grow and I have to learn something which is going to change the future. So at that time, the buzzword was data science and analytics. And I started off looking at that gradually. I pivoted into that, learned new things, learned machine learning, data science, AI, NLP, LLM. Gradually, I pivoted my entire career into that. But at that time, what I felt was a lot of people actually do not gather that much courage to pivot their entire career into a very different domain. So since that time, when I did that, I had this in my head that I need to help others in doing this. Though I couldn't do it very early, but post spending 9.5 years in the corporate, I decided that I need to help others now. So I've pivoted again. Now I'm into edtech, trying to help others achieve the same thing which I did a few years back. And I've spent a good amount of time with the retail industry. So maybe my knowledge upon that and how we did customer acquisition, how we did pricing transitions, and similar thing is there because everywhere there is a customer and we need to generate some revenue out of that. So maybe that experience would be able to help us out in some discussions here.
Sure.
Yeah,
So
that's all from
welcome, Himanshu. So guys, I know who have joined in, we have somebody who has run admission marketing teams in universities, has consulted them. We have somebody who's an entrepreneur in a digital transformation company. We have somebody who has changed his career into data science, who is working in an education company, where they, end up teaching people about, about this new wave of AI, ML, machine learning, analytics. So we have a very good mix of audience here. And again, I would like to repeat that starting this series, this is the first episode and we'll do 12 more, is just not to talk about, my company or not talk about the, the great achievements of the panelists, although both are commendable, but to educate you about what do you need to do in admission teams in your own institutes, in your own companies, B, what tools you could start leveraging today, and C is that what are the leaders seeing in their own companies while they are consulting and advising others, right? So with the first pointer being learning, what I thought is that we will quickly start with a with a very brief 3 minutes before we break for questions and get away from the presentation. But I wanted to start with this slide. And we were very careful by stating that, but that's a fact. So generative AI is a technological earthquake. Okay, this is very, very true. And as you can see, the tectonic shift that's happening in the slide here. And what it means for me and you and everybody on the call is that it will completely redefining how we work, right? Today, it is coming to our doorsteps in how we write an email and how we probably, reply to an email, but it has many, many ramifications. But before we get down into it, it's very, very similar to how history has repeated itself. So if you look at today, software transformed in 90s, 2000, then cloud, SaaS, digital formation happened in the 2000. And now similar to that, as software was eating the world, now AI will eat software and services. And there will be next thing happening. So, we are moving from an island to another island, and there are riches there, people who can A, understand, more importantly, B, apply, and C, leverage. So understanding, application, and leverage all. And all the people in the audience who are joining from admission teams, if you could take some of the takeaways to your teams and use that, this webinar will be a success. So before starting, wanted to quickly go through some very quick terms because people will be using these terms, in conversations. And I thought of giving you a little bit of framework of thinking about it while we break for questions. So first of all, keeping it simple, and I think this is coined by Varun Maya, that ChatGPT is basically a computer whose programming language is English. I think I love this, a very simple definition. So now anybody who does not understand technology can open up his laptop, use ChatGPT, Gemini, ask anything and get an answer. So basically you're programming it in English. That's basically what's happening in the, in the textual area, because you are sending an input as a text and you're getting an output as a text. So basically it's like a computer, think about it, whose programming language is English, which means that every English speaking bloke in the world can program it today. So that's like a very one-on-one basically to it. A lot of people think that ChatGPT is Gen AI. I mean, they were the first products, but there are multiple products to it. So that's the first thing. But it looks simplistic on top of it, but under the hood, a lot of things are at play. Maybe Himanshu will talk about it later during the webinar. But moving on to it, what is machine learning then, or what are models as you hear? So basically models are the magic behind the learning. Think about it, right? So it enables computers to automatically learn and improve from their experiences, very similar to how a human mind works, that as experiences happen, new events happen in our life, we learn from them and we kind of fine tune it, right? So like somebody who has gone through an accident will be very careful when he's driving the car again on the road, on a crowded road. Think about it like that. So it's the magic behind the whole learning. That's where the model and the machine learning comes into picture. Moving on to it, what is LLM? Again, a complicated thing. So think of it like an operating system, like a Windows and Mac, but for text, right? So it's LLM is basically large language model. It's a machine learning model meant for only language, only text, right? It could be different languages, but it's meant for text, not voice, not data analytics, and not, of course, video, but text, right? So it's like an operating system, and which is composed of various components to it. That's like how we think about LLM. And finally, the whole thing called generative, we call Gen AI. The reason it's generative because it generates new text based on prompts. So you feed in prompt, which is basically a question or a text, and it throws you back to it. So it's when a model is able to express themselves, in a generative way, which is not similar to what is trained on, right? So that's like a generative AI. So it's like generating new text for you while you're programming that computer with the magic call model, with the whole text as the center piece to it, right? And finally, it's trained on huge amount of data because any intelligence needs huge amount of data. I have an analogy to it. I think an 18-year-old and a 38-year-old, the 38-year-old will be seeing the world more. He has processed more experiences and more data. So he will have a richer context of the world than an 18-year-old. Although an 18-year-old can be smarter than a 38-year-old, right? So it's similar to that. The more experiences, the more data it will be trained. So ChatGPT, for example, is trained on Wikipedia and Reddit. So that's what's happening, guys, right? You have a data set, you have a text, and the entire literally world trained on it. And then you have ChatGPT, which is like a chat or a way to program the computer using English language. So thought of, quickly describing it for a lot of people on the audience. And this is the presentation that you will see today. So finally, we break away from the presentation now. And the important point was to give you a little bit of context so that you could go and read on your own. And with that being said, I will quickly get an extension of the slides and start with Sumant, you that very quickly, and I will ask the same question to all three of you. Why this is important for education, marketing, and admissions, and where do you see this being a paradigm shift on what was the status quo to what will be now? So over to you.
Yeah, thanks Abhishek for this brief learning. I think it refreshed a lot of our concepts also. But interestingly, these concepts, as they are listed, are powerful concepts. But see, to answer your question, what does it mean? I think for me, the key single word there is relevance. Like I was telling you through my experience, right? Maybe around 17, 18 years back when I started my career with IPL or Sony, the relevance was, I still remember my first project as an intern was standing on the Mumbai, those highways and checking out how many or how much of those people who are driving the cars were actually watching a particular ad displayed on a hoarding. That was a part of, and I was doing, Subeh se Sham tak I was sitting down and writing it down to understand which particular hoarding has the maximum eyeballs. Needless to say, where there's a traffic jam or etc. And all of those elements comes into picture and what kind of advertisements are getting the eyeballs. So from that kind of understanding consumer context of relevance of a marketing to today able to leverage data. And today, none of us have to do that kind of a hard run of standing in the hot sun and noting and watching eyeballs, right? So many tools and technology has evolved. So much of that has evolved, right? To track every aspect of the way you do marketing, to admissions, to systems, to entirety of it. So that to be relevant and to progress with that evolution, you need to be adept with all those technological things which are coming in. Else you will stay behind. And needless to say, if you're staying arcane, you are good as an antique piece. More than that, the relevance and the way the business is changing will not happen. And more importantly, our consumers are evolving. Students, we are talking about Gen Z to Gen Alpha, they are evolving at such a speed. And if we are marketing something to them and we don't touch upon the emotive need of theirs and the language they speak, then we are not reaching our communication to them, and then we are failing. Then the fundamentals of any marketing is you need to know your consumer, you need to communicate to the consumer in the language they understand for the need they have.
No, absolutely, Sumant. And I think I see this transition. You remember how Facebook ads moved to Instagram ads very, very clearly, right? And I think now when you Google anything, the carpet area is Gemini. And it's so surreal, right? It's no longer sponsored ads. So the guys who are paying the same amount of money have been pushed down probably 5 lines below the paragraph. And that's so there are a lot of things that will be going to change. And I'll move on to Himanshu very quickly. So Himanshu, a lot of people in the audience are our audience are part of their admission marketing teams in education institutes, right? Who have joined in. So for you, maybe you can quickly talk about that. What is the relevance of changing marketing landscape for selling programs and courses? And maybe you could use one or two tools or things that you are seeing or doing in your organization which they could benefit from, because you come from a background. So I think some empirical examples along with your commentary on what is the big shift that you're seeing will be very useful.
All right. So the biggest shift which I have seen in the admission space is the amount of inquiries, the amount of people who are actually asking for doing this. That is what I have seen. A few couple of years back, it was very limited to some basic technical courses, languages which they wanted to learn. But that is clearly a shift because they can understand the market. And as Suman said earlier, people are aware. They are aware that what they need to do. They are very sure that I don't want to do anything else. I either want to be this or that, and they are very much aware. And that helps us in understanding their requirement and create curated courses for them. And we now, because they themselves are giving us, earlier we used to explain them that what are we gonna deliver. Now they ask that either you're gonna teach us this, or this is included, that is included in the syllabus. And they themselves give us that curated syllabus. That is one part of it. In other things, they want very real time. A couple of years back, there was a very dedicated time that people used to study this much time and then dedicate some other time on hands-on. But gradually now, what has transformed into, they want real-time responses. They have a lot of FAQs. They want result as soon as possible, and which is not possible in the traditional format. So recently, what we have started is a implementation of RAG. So it's kind of an augmentations out of the documents which we have. That is the syllabus. When they have questions, they ping it on a chat. They get the response whether this is included, how much hours will be spent here, what kind of hands-on practices would they get, and this is all is real, because any time wasted in giving them the response is surely gonna give them an option to explore other areas where that's gonna leak. So that to avoid that leakage, we have to ensure that whatever they need, they get it as soon as possible.
Got it.
That is one thing which we have very recently moved into.
So Himanshu, two things I hear, right? And for the audience is that having a program that teaches kids AI analytics and things like that. So the pedagogy and curriculum should have a flavor or elective of that. That's the first thing.
Right.
And second thing,
However,
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, but there is very big need to kind of nurture them properly, because people come with a perspective that they want to study Gen AI. And nobody is gonna ready to put the blood and sweat which is needed to reach until LLM, which is the base of it. So that nurturing is surely needed.
Yeah, so it's like everybody wants to become a star, but they don't want to do the rigor of acting, right? I think
right.
So and second thing you very interestingly mentioned is that one, the velocity of ask or of replying to the queries, and second is the accuracy. I would also say timing of that query becomes very, very important, because kids and parents are also they were always impatient, but they're becoming even more impatient because the other queries in the life are getting answered very, very fast. So that's the expectation.
Right.
And I come to you. Very interesting points. I think moving on to you, Deepti. Deepti, you consult different industries, and I think the focus here is education industry itself. So maybe you could give some of the examples from a perspective of what are you suggesting or advising, or what you're doing internally to see how marketing and education marketing is getting impacted by generative AI or AI as we speak. So if you could share, and some examples will be really relevant, as Himanshu gave a couple of examples.
So when it comes to admissions, as a facilitator, what I really see is those windows that are there for the students in terms of choices of universities and the aspiration they have. Now, the gap over here is the attention that the students need for the number of queries they have are different from what the parents are looking at, and are again different from what the university wants to position. Now, what is really important is to bridge this gap, understand, first build the clarity of what is it that I need to talk to the students and the parents at one go. So typically, I heard in this conversation about there are certain queries that come out to be together. So there are those data sets which we have to look at. The moment we see, say, for example, admission in art and design and all the courses that are offered under art and design. Now, there are some commonalities. How is it that I map those commonalities through chatbot? I have those FAQs being mapped, which are covered on the website, which are from our end as facilitators. We talk the language the university wants to talk to the students and the parents through our drip marketing. So say, for example, there are sets of students who are looking for BA in fashion. So we will do the drip marketing in terms of what are the subjects that are offered in BA in fashion, how much is the course validity, I mean, how long is the course, what is it that they will achieve. So all of this we map it through drip marketing, and it is referred to as a personalized approach. So and so date we received your application, this is the interest you have shown. Now, earlier it was not possible to have, it was like one for all method. Now it is one on one, and that's what generative AI has helped us to achieve in grabbing the attention, having a conversation which is engaging with them and showing a result. So whether it is any courses, or there are queries, or for example, an application is given, but there is no further action. So in a way, we are nudging the students, hey, you've completed 30% of your application, but you have not paid the fees, or so on and so forth. So it's straight call to action that we can nudge through all these elements.
Got it. So Deepti, what you're primarily saying is that it was manual before, but if I have kids applying from multiple states for art and design program, I could use, a Jasper, a copy.ai, or even a chat GPT and cloud to have hyper personalized copies written for them, which can be very focused to those cohorts and can go to them, which used to be like really intensive earlier on, and probably also not possible because of time constraint and also poor quality, which can be like a decent quality and hyper personalized, is primarily what you're saying, right?
Yes, and the second part to it is, for example, say, for example, calling. Okay. Now, what happens is when there are so many new applications that keep coming in, calling doesn't happen on SOS basis within 24 hours.
Sure.
Now you have, options like super bots where the bot is doing the calling to verify that the number is right and this is the query you've put in. So the
Sure.
call to action is much more faster, much more attentive and localized for
Makes
that.
sense. Cool. So I think, Abhijit, so we want to also keep on doing small polls, so that we could have some participation from the audience. So Abhijit, over to you.
So before we dive into deep discussions, so I would like to start with a quick small poll, like what brings you guys here, like what things you want to learn. So I'm sharing a small poll. I request everyone to please fill your options. The poll is live now.
Okay. While people are voting, Abhijit, can we continue?
Yeah, you can continue.
Okay. So we spoke about the immediate impact. Okay. And we had different opinions, and also from Himanshu on how expectation of the students are changing. But I see that there are three areas. One is text, one is voice, and one is also data and analytics, right? So maybe we could start with focusing on text, and I'll come to Suman for you, right? That the first wave of AI is generative on text. So for the education marketer, that means that email copy, text copy, WhatsApp copy, landing page, website copy. These are the first kind of, impact agents. The impact will come on them right away, right? Now, my question to you is that when everybody has the tools and the smart tools to it, how does an education institute find differentiation in that, right? So if somebody has joined in, who is running an organization, who has, who's a part of the marketing team, or who's a counselor sending that email or that WhatsApp, A, how can they leverage these tools? And B, quickly, how can they be differentiated or apply their own contextual knowledge of their college from a text point of view? So that's my question to you, Sumant.
So, while your topic says AI in education marketing, the tool AI is a technology. Marketing still happens through humans. Okay, marketing is a communication, is a connect between a human or a brand personified as a human with a consumer, right? So no technology, no AI, no data set at this point of time is able to effectively replace that human emotive connect with the consumer need. The brilliance comes in if the marketer or an institution is able to apply the technology, right? Because understand, as a if I, as a I work very closely with a lot of institutional promoters, right? And as a promoter, how much ever I speak, there are two things they're always watchful of. One, the entire EBITDA, the bottom line of it, and we like it or not, we are all a part of a business proposition, so we need to respect the EBITDA part of it. So their whole idea is, how do I optimize the cost of acquisition, the cost of communication, the cost of marketing, which is a significant cost in any of the university admissions. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to replace people with AI. No, that doesn't happen in that way. And I'm telling you this because, just picking up on what Deepti has mentioned, of all the cost of acquisition marketing, this is like a deep analysis at Gus when we were working with UPS, etc. We've done this analysis. The most expensive cost for us at an acquisition, it's not the Google ads. It's actually the time of a counselor.
Mm.
And the problem is that 55 to 60% of the counselor's time is wasted on junk leads. Right? That itself is a business model. No, neither is a respect to the time of a counselor, the human who can otherwise create a much more opportunity cost driven value for you. And two, there is an additional pressure on them. So the university's thought was, okay, these counselors are not giving me effectiveness, so should I reduce them? Should I look at it? No, that's not the solution there. If you are able to save that 50% of the time of the counselor using technology, the rest of the 50% of this admission counsel's time is invested in generating higher revenue for you, in generating higher value for you. As a result, the entire value chain is getting benefited. You understand? So let's not remove marketing and human understanding and ability to run the convince, do the marketing or convince and doing the entire counseling and see that it's an AI which can replace them. It doesn't happen that way. So similarly, even when you talk about a textual leverage of tools, like you can talk about ChatGPTs, Perplexities, etc. The key there is the prompt. The key there is ability to put that right, okay. So the tool itself is, like you rightly put, Abhishek, that is just a computer. The command, the programming which you put into it makes sense of what output the computer gives around. Right, right from doodling away, and I've seen ineffective communication coming from ChatGPT, and sometimes it stuns me saying, "Oh, is it ChatGPT? It's amazingly close to what I wanted as a human creation." That's because of the right inputs gone into it. Now, what does that mean from a marketer it is actually making them more relevant for a business. It is making them more smarter for a promoter or for a marketer like me, for a CMO like me. It makes it more relevant because I know that now you can use your, along with your ability as a marketer, you are coupling with your ability to leverage technology and coming out with faster solutions, smarter solutions, wonderful copies. Speed is essence. Criticality is taking care of it. So you are actually a much more valued resource, not a lesser valued resource. So today, if somebody can come and say that, I can create amazing content with marketing and technology, I would prefer them over somebody comes and says, I'm an amazing marketer.
Sure. No, very, very well put. So two takeaways for me, many, but two that I gather. One is that the prowess of the marketer of applying those strategies will always remain the same, right? And second, for the audiences today, right? As when when the IT revolution happened, people did not started to learn about operating systems and and compilers, but they started to take courses in programming. So similar to that, you should start taking courses in prompt engineering, right? I think that's the right thing to do, which is often missed. So I would say to all those more than 100 people who are there on the audience that if you really want to learn and have empirical knowledge, go and find the right course on prompt engineering. Because our ability to articulate and write beautiful programs, which are beautiful prompts, are the real competitive advantage for marketers, is exactly what Suman said. So there are many courses on prompt engineering at Code Academy, Pluralsight. These are very human courses, 1 hour, 2 hours. So would highly recommend to do that. So that's a very good takeaway, Sumant, right, on prompt engineering. Moving on to Himanshu, I'll come back to Deepti. So Himanshu, you touched upon the fact that, organizations need to have curriculum which trains people on that. And the kids and parents are also wanting precise answers with velocity and so on and so forth. Now, there is a huge element of training and and bringing the counselors and admission team members up to speed, right? So what would you recommend them to learn? What would you recommend them to study? And maybe talk about 2, 3 tools that the audience should start using on a regular basis as you come from that background. So two-part question, how they should bridge that gap from old marketing to a Gen AI stage marketing, what they should be learning, a prompt engineering, for example, being one of the things, and also talk about some of the tools because you come from that background.
Right. All right. The first question, how can someone, kind of adopting the traditional methods to do the marketing can convert? The first thing is to have a very open mind, because what happens is everybody is kind of downtrodden with the kind of pressure they have to do the business, right? So according to me, we should have a very open mind. So I'll give you one example. I was working with a consulting firm a year back, and what we were doing was we were creating small codes for different kind of rules, right? And my very senior partner came to me and he told me, use Gen AI for this. I said, sir, this is not possible. And no, it will work. It will work. He said, use Gen AI. I had a humongous amount of respect for that man, and I started doing some prompt engineering, and you won't believe. A couple of weeks later, I was just doing a few finishing touch-ups in the code, and the entire code was coming from Gen AI. I had to do my prompt engineering. Maybe for a couple of days, I had to change the prompt. I had to change the instructions. I tried different LLM models. I went to Claude. I went to Gemini. I did a lot of research, but towards the end, I found something, a proper prompt, and everything worked. So I think so. I was able to save at least 60% of the manual labor we were doing on the codes.
Yeah.
So the first thing which I would recommend to everyone is to embrace, have an open mind, and try. And then maybe you will see the power of it. It's not just limited to ChatGPT. That's what I want to say. It's not just limited to prompts. Maybe, like, let's say we can connect an Excel to all the potential leads, which just dropping a, let's say, WhatsApp chat, and they can reply on that. And maybe we are just able to filter whom we have to reach first, who are more proactive and responsive. So that is surely gonna not filter, or at least we can prioritize which people we need to pick first, so that it's pretty easy. So first tool, surely all kind of LLMs we should try, and maybe There are few which are just dealing with text. There are few which are dealing with images and videos. Maybe I can also send a small snip according to the requirement of the lead. Maybe the person was looking for a Python course only. Maybe the person was looking for Python plus GenAI. I can create an ad hoc image then and there from the LLM and then send it to them. So there are different such tools which can be utilized. Obviously, chat gpt, there is a different model which people usually do not know and not use, but it's working really well. It's Claude from Anthropic.
Yeah.
I think so the people who have moved from chat gpt should try it. It's an amazing model, and I think so in few areas it outperforms chat gpt. And for images there are new things, and the new thing which is coming up is the agentic AI.
Yeah.
I think so. Earlier, even I was not very much open to it, but gradually I have understood that it's gonna be a game changer in a couple of
Got
years.
it. So people on the audience that, if you haven't, please sign up for Cloud. Chat GPT, I think most people are using it. So I would say that start with the paid subscription. It's a $20 because you get a lot of things in the paid subscription. And I think when you pay, you start to dwell deeper more into it. There's a psychology there. So maybe a paid Chat GPT subscription and along with Cloud. I agree with you. So just for the people on the call, just blogs and writing email copies, I think accuracy, precision of English language, Cloud at times like amazes you what it could do. I'm not even talking about code because our audience is not the code audience here.
Right.
But more than that, I think you could ask the same prompts both and see that what kind of data it's throwing. Deepti, a very pointed question to you. What tools you use on a daily basis as a marketer, and what tools your team uses on a daily basis as a marketer, and be precise that maybe you could share whatever you could share, but what are the tools especially for writing copy, email, building landing pages or forms, or drip marketing automation? What are the few things that you and your team does on a regular basis? That will be very valuable. You are on mute, Deepti.
So to begin with, Abhi, I look at AI as the ally. And I have been constantly having these conversations every Monday morning with my team that if we don't use this ally, we are the ones who are going to miss the boat. So in spite of being the creative agency, I have been constantly hounding the team to look at tools to be our allies. My ratio typically of work has been 70-20-10. 70 is your run-of-the-mill job where you don't have to use head. Use these tools. So whether it is an Adobe Firefly or Adobe Photoshop, Runway, these are typically the tools which we have used for creating, the images, the kind of creatives that we need for performance marketing. We've used SEMrush AI for SEO purpose. We are using copy.ai, all paid tools for writing the kind of blogs, writing the kind of marketing emails and WhatsApp, as well as SMSs that we have to send. I use Fireflies for, see, at the end of the day, meetings, each one's perspective is very different, or the takeaway is very different when it comes to meetings. So Fireflies is like our go-to thing for building that clarity between the team for what's being discussed, what is it that we have to act on. We've used Gamma for decks. So most of these we've gone in as paid tools for just optimizing the 70% template-based approach work that we have to do. It is really speaking the 10% which we need to look at as the kick-ass work. And for that, you need time. These tools help me buy that time for my team.
Yeah, correct. No, I think that's Sumant also touched upon that the saving on the prioritization of the people's time so that they could have meaningful conversations is like a very, very big force multiplier. Otherwise, everybody's stuck in that loop of, hey, let's call all these leads on a regular basis, right? So, and I think so that time is very, very important. So thank you. And for the audience, Abhijit will compile a list of these tools being discussed, categorize into text, voice, and also send it out to you guys. So you could just try it out. I'm again coming to Sumant for you. And Sumant, the question for you is that if you today join as the business, P&L owner, head of marketing, head of sales of a university, right? Two questions: how would you build the team, right? And what would be your go-to-market strategy, keeping in mind that generative AI is like very core, right from SEO to to probably landing page and copy. So very quickly, some subjective answers that what kind of people you will be hiring, and also what kind of go-to-market strategy will be changing. Maybe you can talk about what the change will be there if you have to again start as a head of admission or head of marketing.
So it looks like life keeps throwing me after every 5 years. I end up building a new team again, time and again, Abhishek. So currently, I'm in that phase where I'm building for my own company.
Yeah,
I'm building the team, and trust me, building a team is an immense challenge as a business owner. It's not running the business, it's not getting the clients or part of it. Those are all the easier problems to solve because that is based on the kind of experience skill. The greatest challenge is to have the team which resonates with all of these things which are evolving, right? And that for me is a great problem to solve. So
yeah,
point number one, like I said, when I look at people, either a marketer or a sales team or a performance marketing, you name it across the marketing and other segment, and marketing is not the only segment I operate anyways at. So the first is always the core of what they bring in terms of their core skill. For me, I'm a very firm believer that minus the core skill, technology, then you cannot compete with technology. All right, your competency comes from the core skill. So you as a core marketer, and the biggest way I always assess the marketer's vision or a thought process is how much can you understand the consumer, how much can you understand the institutional brand, and able to connect the story, because the storytelling is very very powerful, very very important. The emotional storytelling.
yeah,
Generations have changed, alphas have come in, but what continues to remain constant in humans are the way is to connect with stories, connect with emotions. Even today, while sleeping, you're an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old, your grandmother tells you a story. Thus, inquisitively, you listen to that, right? So I think that emotional storytelling becomes the primary asset for any marketer or a salesperson. They're also narrating a story. And this was a lesson taught to me by Ronnie Screwvala, the UTV and now the upgrade. He happened to be my early bosses. So he said, Suman, there are always two stories we narrate. One to a consumer, one to our stakeholders. The people who narrate the both stories effectively are the ones who build great businesses.
yeah,
All
yeah,
right. So that is very, very key. Where we use technology is to put that storytelling, that emotive storytelling, to a representation.
yeah. Beautifully said.
Because you cannot have waste so much of time. You already have that vision. You already have the story in your mind. Now put it to the AI. Let it throw you 1,000 options.
Yeah,
You pick up the best which resonates with your emotive storytelling. So
yeah.
don't go to AI and say, hey, you please tell me how do I do marketing. Right, so please approach it from this is the kind of approach you need to take towards leveraging technology.
Sure. So I have a quote. I have a saying that I heard similar to Ronnie, that convince the buyer, calm the user. I think so. So if for in the admission perspective, you have to convince that parent or that economic parent to calm the student, because student is in a state of anxiety, that because he does not know what's future holds to
In
it.
fact, Abhishek, that is also tremendously changing. I think yesterday I was having a conversation with one of the PR team, and I was telling them right now in India, and that too geographical difference, because I've worked in universities in Middle East, in Europe, North and South of India also. And
Yeah,
each of the geographical has a different level of consumer and customer maturity at this point of time. You'll be surprised. In South, 80% of decision making happens from parents, 20% is with the kids today. Very quickly, that is moving to a 40-60 ratio. Very quickly, that means I'm not saying years to come, 3 to 5 years, 30 to 40% will remain with parents. I'm talking about a 17, 18-year-old parent, parent, and remaining 80% of decision making happens through a student.
makes
So
sense.
students will say, yes, this is the university I want to go because I synced in with the story, and it's not going to be the promotional material of your placements or your schools. No, that has become a hygiene today. It's a point of parity. So let's not pick up a point of parity and create it like a differentiating story. You say 98%, somebody will say 98.5, somebody will say 99%. Both
Hmm.
expectation ban gaya aajkal. I think the story, how I emotively connect with the university and with that particular narrative as a human being, as a as a prospective student, becomes very powerful.
Sure. No, makes sense. Makes sense. And thanks for sharing that. Himanshu, I have a final question for you before I move to Deepti, right? That a lot of people in the audience and we have started to have questions that what tools we should use, right? So if you were a AI consultant for a head of admission or head of marketing, okay, what would you advise them to invest their money on, right? Because they have to invest the money, right? It could be on call productivity, it could be on query resolution on that RAG thing that you mentioned about. It could be on how somebody can have data on their hands. So for example, if Sumant is advising a big university, and they ask them, hey Sumant, today our team worked, at the end of the week, what is the admission number, what's the payment done, and how much courses have been sold, right? So what are the 2-3 core business areas where you will ask as a AI consultant for them to invest on? That's my question to you.
Okay. The very first thing which currently on the top of my head is analytics. I think so. We have been doing business for a very long time. The way we have been doing it, it's running smooth. Okay, everything is fine. But gradually, as we see the graph going down, at that time the panic starts that what's going haywire. And this was actually hidden in the system for a very long time, and that can be only unmasked by doing some analytics upon the data. I think so. The first investment which a person should do is, irrespective of whatever is happening, how great, how not so well, whatever is the stage, we should do some kind of analytics upon each and every aspect of the business which is being done. So analytics is one thing which I would kind of align myself. The other thing is, I think so, not from the tool perspective which I can guide, but we all know that in the system which is taking the most toll, what is the most taxing thing which we are working upon. And I think so, we should always try to find an alternative via some support of AI into that. And we have enough number of tools available. I'm not even sure if I know even 10% of them, but there is something already in the market which can help us achieve near perfection results in one of the stages where we are struggling. So I think so, employing some of the tool in the stage where, because every business has some or the other problem, dependent upon the problem, we should try to research. But they are, let's say I do not use ChatGPT for emails. I use Grammarly, because what ChatGPT does is it changes the entire emotion of my email which I'm trying to send. So I directly don't put an email that I want to write something like this, I want to say this and that, and it gives me the entire, because it's actually taking away my authenticity also. So I rather than that, I use Grammarly, which can just correct the grammars and punctuations, and mostly the emotions are mine. So those things which I would suggest, but analytics is one thing which I strongly recommend that everyone should start with.
Brilliant. So I hear analytics query. You already mentioned that how fast accuracy students can be answer those queries, right? So these are the two things. And also you mentioned that during the entire workflow, if there could be any other tool that can augment or extend, via AI, it could be as simple as Grammarly to retain the emotion. So people should keep on looking out for it. And I think it comes from that fact of having an open mind, because we'll keep on curiosity looking at that, hey, what is happening in the world, and reading about it, right?
Embracing and creating a balance, because the balance is very necessary. Because towards the end, even let's say, even if I'm creating or fabricating an email via ChatGPT, towards the end we have a look at it, that what it has created for us. That balance has to be created between AI tools as well as something else, because once, let's say, if we automate everything, then obviously this authenticity is something which we lose. That is what we do with the chatbots of banks, right? We just close the chatbot because we know it's not authentic. So that is something which should have some human touch.
Yeah. So I read a quote that you should always write with care, but you should always copy with attention. So when you're copying, you're copying anything, you should be attentive that whatever you're copying. I think, thank you very much, Himanshu. So Deepti, we have the last question to you. And the question is that, a lot of people are here in the audience who are part of these teams. And Suman spoke about, the side of marketing remains the same, but prompt and applying becomes very, very important. Himanshu spoke about having an open mind and some of the tools that he mentioned. From having the conversation with head of admissions, head of marketing, or owners of the institute. Okay. How would you suggest people should approach that? Because they might not, they will not, they may end at over exaggerating the impact of generative AI, and they also might be kind of downplaying it because of their own relevance. So when you are talking to an owner of an organization as a head of marketing and sales, or as a counselor itself, how would you have this conversation, and what would you be careful about it?
So when I say repeating what I said before, which is AI as a ally, it's not going to bring about some groundbreaking change in the work, right? So when we are having these conversations with the stakeholders, it's about being objective clarity of what you want to achieve. So look at the historical data. With these tools, what is the difference that you're going to make? So facilitation, when I'm talking about getting attention with the tools, so your drip marketing, what I'm doing, I'm not going to bring about a huge jump in the number of conversions, but I'm definitely going to bring about some major differences, which is talking to the leads authentically. So my brand awareness is definitely happening. My brand engagement is definitely happening. My brand promotion is definitely happening. So when it comes to realistic objective setting, these are the subtle elements which generative AI is helping me to build on the sites. And what happens is this is happening through attention, through authenticity, and through direct engagement.
Right.
So these tools really help me to achieve all the subtle elements in marketing without being sounding over the top.
Yeah. So what primarily can I say that during the funnel, right, from attention to awareness to, a little bit moving down the funnel and making it sharp at every funnel, how can you change it using this coming tools and technology? Could be like a hybrid approach when you're talking to owner of an institute. That boss, we could look at, like, for example, automated calling will be more top of the funnel, but down the funnel will be hyper personalized emails and so on and so forth.
Right. Absolutely.
Good. So I think we are nearing the end to it, and I promised the audience that I'll show them something, right? So this is the time that I'm able to be a little bit show and less kind of tell. So I think there were two things that I wanted to show, and it's very heartening that both Himanshu and Sumant mentioned that. And I'll just take two quick examples, and we have some questions coming in around. There are 7 questions, and Abhijit, you could point some questions in the direction. People keep on asking questions, so that as we move from the demo to the questions, the esteemed guests can answer those questions. So without further ado, couple of things wanted to show, and without taking much time, I think the first and foremost thing that I wanted to talk about is what Himanshu mentioned, that when people come to the website and they come to the campus, they have questions, right? And we throw them data. Also, they have very specific questions, and if questions needs to be answered with precision and clarity at the same time with the right timing, because it's a hyper competitive environment. So I thought of picking some questions, and I have taken our one of our very favorite university customer, Vishwakarma University, Deepti, for an example, right? So this is like our own LLM or SLM trained on their website data. And so people can come and they could start asking some very basic questions like, can you tell me about the program and courses? And here, generally, when you ask somebody, they will tell you in very detailed, give a PDF. But I just want to know that, hey, in science, technology, architecture, commerce, and pharmacy, what are the options for me? I just want to quickly take a look at that. With this information, you can draft an email, or you could read and speak on the phone, or you could send a WhatsApp messages. You could do that. So that's like a very simple aspect. Today, it's done very, very old-fashioned way on phone call in a very subjective way, and so on and so forth. Interestingly, there is an element of empathy and care when it answers that. It's also using right kind of that, hey, the learning by doing approach aims to prepare students for fulfilling career path. So the emotion of the AI is also very, very important, which comes to when I take a complicated question. So let me take a complicated question, which I drafted, that I'm a mother of a 19-year-old daughter, and I want to apply for an AI program, but I'm also concerned about women's security at the campus. Okay, so how do I think about it, right? So here there are two-part questions. So it needs to also talk about the program, but also attend to the security question of that mother of a daughter, of a 19-year-old daughter, right? So it kind of breaks down and talks about safety at the campus. So here you have taken two questions and answered it very, very my university, where do I go for engineering? Now here, it needs to give a very good answer, but also a very unbiased answer. So you see that it says that the choice is yours. So you need to research both. In the era where we live in, it happens in a very, very difficult way. And as Himanshu, you clearly mentioned, it happens over a phone call in a very convoluted way of subjective answers. And imagine that this, if given in the hands of the counselor's admission team as well as on the website, it could start behaving like fast, precise answer. And all of these view Deepti, just for an example, right? So basically, you are answering focus questions, and which also quickly means that you could even move to analytics. And quickly, I wanted to also talk about very quickly that a lot of people who work, in admissions and marketing wants data at their fingertips. So there could be a world where you just ask a simple question: "Hey, can you give me chart with different lead sources?" And it can literally giving you all the different lead sources to it. So that's another revolution that could happen for reporting and analytics, which you mentioned, Himanshu, right? That how quickly these things can happen, and these can do in different ways. So for example, you ask, give me a chart, but you could also tell them, hey, give me a list, or you can say that, give me a table, of all the list with different sources. So it can end up giving you, a detailed table and a chart with, a lot of data that could be processed to it. So I think the broader point being is that today you could get charts, you could get bars, or you could get data, and different questions can give you different analytics, which you could process in the form of different things. So I wanted to show you what is currently possible from a data perspective, and as well as wanted to show you what's currently possible from a text perspective. And we are building these products for a lot of people, but I wanted to take very quick opportunity to talk about that, how the future of counseling will look tomorrow, and how the future of data and analytics is going to look tomorrow, where you will get this on your fingertips, and that's going to happen very, very fast, because you are going to get this very, very fast over a period of time. So again, you need not be a pioneer to figure this out, but I can tell you that this is going to happen faster than we will imagine. Okay, that conversation will become very clearly the language of information, data, as well as the language of giving the right information with accuracy at the right timing in a very hyper competitive world, because for every view there is a Bharati Vidyapeeth, and for every Bharati Vidyapeeth there are other universities to it. So as promised, I also wanted to do a show and tell that this is what we are internally seeing. So Himanshu, whatever you spoke about, I think we are on the right direction, because we are building those products for our customers. So to also quickly show that, and it's very early days, but what are the possibilities going forward are really immense. So with that, Abhijit, over to you. We have a lot of questions coming in. Okay. So can you pick maybe a few of them and just read them out?
Yeah, sure, Abhishek. The first
Okay.
question is audience is how I can measure the success of AI-driven tools. The audience are really keen to know like how they can measure
Abhijit, your voice is breaking. So
voice this.
yeah, so I'll take the question, and I think Ritesh has a very good question for maybe Deepti, you or someone, that what are some credible sources for market and consumer behavior intelligence data to develop educational products and to help with enrollment growth? So while Suman, you can pick it up, but so Ritesh, my perspective is that there is something called as deep research in Chat GPT recently, where it could go and it could research for you. So whenever you ask them a prompt, it will ask you 5 more questions. where location, and when it will then take 4 or 5 minutes to process that and give you a very deeper insight about market research and subjective research on ChatGPT to do that. $20. It's called Deep Research, available for pro users. That's what I know. But Sumant,
I think I was about to intend to deep research in a part of it only. See, I mean, when Deepthi was listing out those tools, I place that you mastered them or you understand it, in a deep sense, right? You have to keep experimenting with a few tools around it, whichever is giving you the most effective part of it. So it's very difficult to say you pick up one tool, but yeah, like references right from Chat GPT deep search to your research to talking about Perplexity. I think one of the things I'm really interested and getting quite engaged right now is on the Perplexity AI, especially on the knowledge side of things. It gives you real understanding of what is happening. Some good questions, some good interpretations. I think that's a one place I'm really interested in. Of course, for designing and everything, like Deepthi has mentioned, I'm sure Runway is one pretty good option, both even on the video format also, right? I think there's quite a few videos also Runway is giving, and I've seen recently InVideo is also coming with InVideo.ai, which is actually generated some interesting, very quick. I was looking at some brochure to create a brochure, just was playing with it, and immediately it came out with a beautiful brochure. Now, content and everything aside, but at least the way it represented the graphical part of it, I felt it was very quick. And then from that being the starting point, working on it makes it faster and easier. So yeah, these are some of the tools I could probably immediately think of, top of the mind recall.
Cool. So that was a question from Rajendra. I think I'll take this anonymous question that many institutes worry about AI replacing human counselors. How do you see AI working alongside admission team rather replacing them? Deepti, you would want to take that? The
So,
existential question of AI. Yeah.
yeah, so I feel every university has some kind of persona when it comes to students. Okay. And again, that sort of you have to subcategorize it based on your the courses that you're offering. Now, what typically happens over here is the AI will help you to sort of segregate the leads, the kind of students that you have. Now, when you have again, I'm taking example of art and design. Say you have fashion design and animation and those kind of students. So you're going to bundle them as creativity. Now, everything when it comes to engaging them, you will create a webinar or you will get 20 students into one room, talk about what courses you have, who are the faculty members. You may have some ex-students who would want to talk, what kind of placements. So all these things, it's like human to AI and AI to back is what you can do, really speaking. It's categorizing, talking, engaging, and then watching the results.
Cool. Okay, so that was another question. I think this is a very interesting question. How can institute measure the success of AI-driven, AI-driven tools in terms of efficiency and ROI? I think I have a take on it. I think it's too early to do that because the tools are also evolving very, very fast. So you should not measure it in terms of ROI. ROI you only do when there is determinism that it will exactly do what's supposed to do. I think it will take some time. But I would definitely say that investment in the right areas, as Himanshu mentioned, analytics, chat, right mindset, training of your counselors will be very important. Sumant, would you want to touch on that? Like ROI, is it too early or like we should be worrying about that?
See, from a business sense, I think I mean I will never put an ROI on a tool or one particular aspect. I'll put on ROI on the eventual outcome of from a business KPI point of view. So if any of these tools are, like I was telling you, reducing the cost of the sales conversion, increasing the conversion time, right? It's giving you a more time to spend on something valuable. So these are all the critical ROIs for us, critical leverage of the investment we're looking at it, right? So don't put it only so okay, if I apply this AI tool, like it's an amazing the chat you showed, I think it's Vidya, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, with AI, Vidya AI. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. Now, that solves a lot of problems. That solves because, like you rightly said, today's generation is conversational generation. They like to chat. They like to put out their questions on a WhatsApp or a chat rather than have a communication. fortunate or unfortunate, that's the kind of generation we are dealing with also. So having such kind of things will inherently increase the efficacy of the conversation. And by the time that lead comes to a counselor, probably there's a bit of nurturing which has already happened. Groundwork has happened. You are more informed. You are understanding that prospective better. So you're able to invest your time better on an interested, or how we call it, as a qualified lead, rather than wasting your time. So that is an amazing ROI for me. That
Yeah.
means same counselors talk time, or the object to talk time, which is dealt on dead or junk leads, is now transformed towards a more qualified set of leads. So we are saving a cost. There is a better conversion happening around it. So look at it from a business perspective of the outcome of ROI.
Makes sense. I think this one question is appropriate for Himanshu. So Himanshu, this question is, what advice would you give to institutes that are hesitant to adopt AI but want to stay competitive? So I have a funny answer, but maybe you can take a stab at that.
Yeah, I think so. As I said earlier, we need to give it a chance. Being hesitant is something that we can only understand via having some demos, understand what other players are doing. I think so. A very straightforward example is Nokia. They didn't want to move on to Android, and we saw how they experience what was the kind of experience they felt, right? So it's not uh, it's groundbreaking, that's true, uh, but it's not something that is gonna maybe the hesitation to adoption is basically could be because of whether it is gonna replace us.
Yeah.
A few years back, we thought that now different languages have come in, we would be replaced. No, we evolved. We changed the way we work. AI is just gonna change the way we work. Maybe the hesitation, we need to understand the ground problem. What was the reason of hesitation? Whether it is technical, whether it is mental, whether it is some kind of different fear, that has to be dealt with first. Have an understanding that how it can help us, what all things would be beneficial, and maybe then institute would, or whatever, maybe institute, a person, a company, or a group of people, counselors. First, they need to understand that how it can help. Maybe uh, for majority people, AI is just limited to ChatGPT. But
Yeah.
predictive modeling, computer vision, machine learning, there are n number of other things which can actually help in different aspects. That is something which has to be. So attending some demos and understanding the problem of hesitation can actually be the way to move ahead.
Yeah. I think there's a question on which LLMs you are using. You mentioned DeepSeek, how very, very hesitant about DeepSeek or Llama. I think I think it's an anonymous attendee. I'll take that. Everybody who's building an AI product are not using one model, but they're using multiple foundational models. We call them foundational models. So some models are very, very secure, like OpenAI, Azure, and AWS has those things. Then Anthropic, as Himanshu mentioned, cloud is a very, very strong model. Then there is a European company which has Mistral. Mistral has its own model. And then there are open source models like DeepSeek and Llama. So any company who's building on it, whoever has asked the question, they're using a combination of all of them. And if you have to deliver it to an education institute on an enterprise, it needs to have security, reliability, future proofing and things like that. So if I ask a question that will Mahendra Singh Dhoni play the next IPL, it should say that I don't know the answer to this question, because I'm like built for admission query management and not for general answer, right? In this case, and it should not hallucinate. So that's the question. So I think people who will be shipping it to enterprises, or what we call B2B, they have to become security first. And that's why we rely on Azure, AWS, who power your Outlook, and Google, and Google Workspace to do that. So that's the answer to that question. I think we have answered around 12 questions, and I think we are overshooting our time now. So I think it was fascinating talking to all of you, and thank you for coming on a call. I think there were like 70% turnout for this, and people were there on the call. So I'm pretty happy. That's really good for a webinar. And Himanshu, thanks for bringing a technology aspect to it, and also a practitioner. Sumant, for bringing the aspect of what happened from the days of IPL to Gus to what's happening now. And Deepti, from painting it a color from, how do you think about it during the funnel? And how do you do those conversations, with the stakeholders and also some of the tools that you use on a daily basis? So as a part of this, we will collect all of these things, send to our stakeholders. So the whole idea of education becomes they start using these products, okay, on a regular basis. And that's the whole idea to kickstart that. And this is our first one, which we started with a flavor of generic. We will want to move to more text. We will want to touch on calling. Calling is such a big area, right? That how do you automate? You talked about a couple of products, Deepti. How do we make sure call quality and prioritization becomes better? And third is the prioritization itself. Who's the $1 million question? What's hot, what's not, right? How can we solve that question? And then finally moving on to analytics, that how owners can have data at their fingertips. So I think we'll keep on picking one, going deeper into it. But thank you for coming on the call and being the initial early adopters of the conversation to start with. And really appreciate your time. Thank you everyone who joined in. Thank you, Abhijit, for setting this up.
Abhishek, before wrapping up, right?
Yep.
Let's do one thing. Let's ask our audience, right? Like a lot of our audience are currently using AI-based solutions, right? A lot of them are planning to implement for their institutes. So I'm sharing a one last poll. So what topic you guys want us to cover in next webinar?
Okay.
You want a chat-based tool, voice-based tool, analytic, or AI for content marketing? I just love to hear your thoughts on this. The poll is live now.
Sure.
You
Go ahead.
can submit your response. Yeah, the poll will,
Okay.
yeah. Meanwhile, you can proceed with your discussion.
Continue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Deepti. Thank you, Suman. Thank you, Himanshu, for your time. And would love to have you again, maybe on some deep dive conversations. And I hope that when we meet next time, a next wave has taken us. I'm hearing about somebody called Manus AI, and they're doing something very crazy in the agentic field. I don't know. Next time we come, there will be something more. The things are changing so fast, but really appreciate you taking out time in a working day and coming and talking to us.
Thanks, Abhishek. Thanks, Himanshu and Deepti. Amazing, having you guys around. Thanks, Abhijit. Look forward to it.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Have a good evening. Bye. 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 Thank you, everyone in the audience, for coming on the call. We wanted to have expert opinion. We wanted to have a one-on-one, and we also wanted to do a show and tell, show you what Extra is building. I hope that, it's a good start. We will do more of these, but we wanted a little bit of education, a little bit of, what leaders are doing, a little bit of what tools they are using, and a little bit of what Extra is doing, all combined into one. I hope that we were able to live up to the expectation, and we'll try to get more sessions built in, and hope to see you again in some of the other sessions. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you so much, guys. So I'm sharing a poll results right now, and a lot of you are looking forward for voice-based AI solutions and analytic AI tools, and we will definitely do
Yeah.
next webinar based on these two criterias.
Cool. I think Syed, if you are there on the call, I think what will end up happening is that telecallers won't got eliminated or extinct. The quality of telecalling will become very, very better. I'll tell you why. Imagine that there are two interventions. A is that the AI is able to call to automate the top of the funnel calling itself. I think that is definitely one possibility, thereby reducing the volume of calls which can be attended on the first instance by AI. That's one. A little bit far, because today India is a regulated environment and you cannot just do bot calling on a promotional basis. TRAI has strict regulations on that. So it's a little bit far. Second, what could happen is that call quality and analysis can be done at amazing scale, both English, Hindi, regional languages, where you could really identify immediately that today if 100 calls were made, how many calls were good or bad based on the script that you need to follow. And based on that, you could prioritize those calls. So tomorrow, when these 20 people come in, who should they be calling first? So that could be solved. So two problems can be solved: lead prioritization, and second is that high quality of calls that could be made. I think moving from MQLs to SQL. So yeah, so that's what I think is going to happen in calling. Calling is a very important area, and we'll do a dedicated webinar on that because we have a lot of thoughts, and we do a lot of like in double-digit lakh calls every month. So we have like a ringside view of towards what will happen here. So Manjusha, there are many available. You could Google and you will check that. But I would say that when to use bot-based calling is very, very important. I would say that don't use a top of the funnel. I mean, if you have 5 lakh data or 50,000 data, bot-based calling may not work. Where it would really work is a yes and no answer, right? And I'll give you a very simple example. When you do a transaction from your HDFC or SBI account for a foreign product that you buy. So say you buy ChatGPT subscription from your SBI account. So immediately after the transaction, a call comes to you, automated call asking that, hey, did you make that transaction or not? I think that's where bot call will come into picture in more of a transactional, situation where you already know that identity of a customer. So in education, examples could be admit card, offer letter. He has done a walk-in, but there is a follow-up. That's where you could do these calls where you have context and not just random calling, top of the funnel data. So that's where I'll see, that's where I see the application of bot-based calling, which will mean that the volume of the call will be less, and hence you'll be blocked less, and you'll be kind of blacklisted less. If you do a call like a bulk calling, you may get blacklisted and numbers have to be changed. So I think we covered the LLM privacy aspect very clearly. So we have to use foundational models, which is a combination of all of them. Definitely AI-driven chat will hugely impact student decision-making process, as I showed you. It has tremendous appeal. And that's one of our products that we are launching with the AI. So happy to share more information. I think we have covered most of the questions, Abhijit. Okay.
Yes, Abhishek, we have covered almost most of them, right? Rest, I'll do one thing. I'll drop them a quick PPT, what we have discussed today, what tool they are using. I'll share with them so they can get an
Sure.
idea.
Thank you, Abhijit, and thank you, guys. We love to welcome you in our next webinar based on your responses. And Abhijit and team will reach out to you and look forward to having a conversation with all of you. Thank you again for joining. This is Abhishek from Extra Edge along with Abhijit. And all of you have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, team.
Thank you.